want to turn now to national security expert Arif Halaby joining us again. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, Natasha. Boy, you're working a long night.
I know we're on our 5th hour, but it's important here. And talk us through this from a national security perspective. What are the biggest safety concerns for residents, for businesses? I mean, we see a fire burning in the middle of the street there. It's one of many. There was another in a field. There was a car set on fire before, as well as first responders when unrest escalates in a major city like Los Angeles.
Well, you're going to see a few things happen. One is they've already deployed undercover officers into the group. So we already know that. That's standard procedure. Undercover officers are in the group. They might be holding signs, maybe picking up rocks. They probably won't throw any, of course, but you're going to see them in the group. Here's why. Their job is to identify those that might be carrying firearms. And then in addition to that, communicate back to those men and women that are sitting on the vehicles. There are snipers in position. There always are in this type of a scenario. And their job is to watch the crowd, to look for those that are carrying firearms and that are armed and could lethally hurt somebody else.
That is fascinating, and that's not information that I've heard before. So you believe that there are actually undercover operatives that are within the crowd tonight. What will they do if things escalate? Will they actually turn on their, faux fellow protesters?
No, that's not normally how it operates. What they'll do is they'll identify, say, the man in the blue shirt with the white hat, and carrying a backpack or something. And that person, they're looking for firearms, they're looking for bombs, they're looking for anything that's lethal. And you will see them come and go. They'll filter in and out. They'll disappear. They'll sometimes carry flags and other types of protest materials. The key is, look, we have to start calling this what it is. This is a full-scale riot. This is not a protest. A protest stands on the corner, gets people to honk. They might block a lane a little bit or two, but this is a full-on riot. It makes January 6th look like a joke. These are men and women who are not afraid of law enforcement, and that's really key. When I was an officer in the LA riots and then later an academy instructor for Los Angeles, the LAPD, we trained various ways to prevent this, but you're seeing politically their hands are tied. Law enforcement is not doing what they are trained and supposed to do, and that's often because somewhere along the political chain, they're being told not to.
I mean, have you seen pretty incredible restraint from local law enforcement today and all of the operations that they've had underway here? And can you also speak us through what we're seeing now? It seems like as protesters were approaching the concertina wire, we saw law enforcement advance one by one and lob some sort of projectile towards them. Is that right?
Yeah, you're going to see that happen with rubber bullets. And there's various types of rubber bullets. There's those that look like a cylinder, and then there are some that look like large BBs, rubber BBs. So there are different ones. That's when you see the green canisters. Sometimes they're red, depending on the agency, but they have a less than lethal operation to them, and that's important because the objective is to not kill these men and women that are rioting.
While we have this shot up, can you speak to what we're looking at here? It seems that there are protesters taking shelter behind a dumpster, behind some sort of furniture there as well. I mean, these are remarkable images that we're seeing live tonight.
Yeah, if you were to close your eyes and open them, you might think you were in Gaza or the Palestinian territories. You would be surprised that this is the city of Los Angeles or just south of the city of Los Angeles. There are multiple agencies, and their job is to operate in a particular standard operating procedure, just like any agencies. We are not trained to have somebody in the middle of the street like this and then just to ignore them. Now, if they get up and start firing or shooting weapons, if you will, firearms at the law enforcement officers, this is when you're going to see snipers in place. Now, I would, without giving too much away, I would guess that there would be snipers in position if they needed to take out these people, even though they're behind that, because the snipers are already deep inside on various rooftops. I think you're going to see a caution with some of the helicopters, et cetera, to give away their position. But that is normally what would happen in a city like Los Angeles with the county sheriffs, one of the top trained agencies in the country, by the way.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And, as we're looking at this, what would rise to the level of a sniper to actually fire on one of these protesters? Is throwing a rock at law enforcement enough, or would it have to be more egregious than that?
Yeah, it'd have to be a lot more egregious than that. Rocks, et cetera, are rubber bullets. especially if somebody's being hurt. Now, if they see somebody behind the lines whose life is in danger, in other words, the protesters have turned on somebody else, the rioters have attacked somebody. Mr. Stanton earlier spoke very clearly on what he expects to be the next case, which in this case is going to be looting and possibly, look, if you want a television and I want a television and we're both looters, who gets it? It's the one who gets to stand up in the fight. So sometimes they turn on each other when they begin to loot jewelry stores, furniture stores, Jack Daniels. Various things can become valuable to these folks.
It's interesting, Arif, as we're watching these images together here, there seems to be so fireworks being set off there in the middle, but also people running down this side street. It's really hard to understand exactly what's going on here. Yeah, just chaos. All day we've been watching law enforcement using their own projectiles, rubber bullets, etc. And then it seems that protesters have their own fireworks, etc., that they're lobbing back. Any read on the situation, or is it more of the same?
No, it is a bit more the same, but the surprising part to me and many other law enforcement experts would be looking and seeing why are there vehicles driving still in a protected area or in a protest area.
I'm so glad you bring this up. I'm so glad you bring this up. This has been so odd to me all day long, and Nancy Liu was reporting this, that they were just not able to set up a perimeter that was preventing the public from just driving straight through all of this as it's unfolding, all of the chaos, and causing more elements of the crowd to show up throughout the night with more Mexican flags, et cetera, in this area. Is that surprising to you?
It is. The lessons we learned from the Reginald Denny, the truck driver who drove in the middle of protesters, didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to run over anybody. He was dragged out of the car and beat, and his life changed forever. I think the same thing is happening here. Now, the only difference could be that maybe these drivers in the vehicles are on the same side as the protesters, so there wouldn't be any animosity between the protesters, the rioters, and the drivers. Here's the problem. If you are in law enforcement, you immediately call a perimeter, and your job is to shut down all of the various north-south. I need somebody at the 700 block of this street, and you lock it down, and so no other vehicles on accident start to drive down the road, and you have a mom with 3 children driving down a road. Very dangerous, escalating to a place that it shouldn't be. And that's early on in a protest, early on in a riot. That is the first thing that's done. I'm surprised it's not done. For example, look at that car that's driving. That road should be blocked off. That Constantine wire should be on the other side of that road so that you don't have anybody who is driving through there. And you would just put a T so somebody's not able to drive into that main road. If you take a look around, you still have cars that looks like they're stopped at stoplights. That's ridiculous. There should be zero access, and that should be locked down. Often what the officers start to do is they start to close in, close in, close in. They generally leave one avenue of exit so the folks could leave. If they don't, they close off that avenue and begin arrests. You're going to see arrests begin very soon, often in the cover of night. And I think that's the avenue that law enforcement is going. You see the 710 freeway there. That's a very, very busy freeway. It goes to Long Beach, to the ocean, all the way inland. And often that freeway is filled with truck drivers and folks coming from the ports. Disrupting that highway could disrupt trade, at least in a short term, for Southern California.
Yeah, and our NewsNation border correspondent, Ali Bradley, was saying her sources were already reporting that there are plans for more protests starting back up tomorrow. So, of course, we'll be monitoring that. National security expert Arif Halaby, thank you so much for your expertise and time.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.